I was quite surprised how much development money you can spend on such a boring part. And that was our goal, to create a trail bike with gravity DNA. And that's why we came up with the Jeffsy.
For sure, there's end progression always like a big topic. Even like we figured out, you UK guys, you're really into building jumps, and you don't give a fuck about landing. So it's always like hug to flat, and that's where that bike can shine.
So I got a proper wick on it, and I thought, okay, looks quite nice. I should keep it. And then I asked for if I can buy it, and they said, okay, it's 5,000 K. Say he told me a story. I don't know. I can't remember exactly in what park he was, but he was sitting in a lift and people beside him were talking about Jeffsy and the bike and so on, and they say, I'm Jeffsy.
That must be Markus Flossmann and Frank Dörr. Welcome to the Downtime podcast. Markus, you've been on before. Frank, first time.
First time, huh?
Yeah, I'm excited to sit down and chat all about the new Mark III Jeffsy, but let's get some quick introductions done. Markus, like we say, you've been on before, but just give us a quick reminder of like who you are and your role within YT these days.
Yeah, first of all, Chris, thanks a lot for having me again. Pleasure. It's a pleasure. And my name is Markus Flossmann. I'm 48 years old. I'm the founder of YT Industries. I founded the company in 2008, so 15 years ago. And now I'm running as the CVO, as the Chief Visionary Officer, more the strategic part of the business. So I'm not so involved in the operational part anymore, taking more care about the strategic direction and brand and product identity.
Yeah, nice. Good stuff, man. Thank you. Frank, give us a bit of background first. Like, where does your career take you to get to this point?
Oh, career, that's a good point. I wouldn't consider it as a career. So I'm passionate about mountain bikes and mountains in general. And actually, I started as a business controller.
Okay.
Many moons ago. And at a certain point, I figured out, hey, man, I got to do that. I have to change industry because I can do it, but my heart is beating somewhere else. And doing a big cut. And somehow I ended up in the bicycle industry in a German brand a couple of years ago, and did there more or less what I did here. I'm doing here at YT Industries, and since I think that's the 7th year already, I'm working in the R&D department.
Yeah.
Taking care of different things, not working actually, let other people do the work. And I changed my role lately from being the head of R&D. Towards more product marketing.
Okay.
Because we figured out like we're damn good in brand marketing and doing awesome campaigns and all that shit, but telling the product story from R&D perspective.
Okay.
Not only externally, specifically internally. That's the role I took over more or less, and nowadays my title is Product Development Manager.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And what before the Mark III Jeffsy, what other products have you been involved in at YT?
Everything you can buy currently on the website. That's goes from Jeffsy Primus over Decoy, which was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
The tours and all the bikes you can see.
You've had a hand in all of that over the last 7 years.
Yep.
Good stuff. Yeah. Nice. So let's talk about the Jeffsy. And it first hit the market in 2016, I think.
2016 is right. Yeah.
And at that point, you were very much known as like a gravity-focused brand. I think that's still the case. Yeah. But I think people were kind of surprised to see a 29er trail bike come from YT. Like, tell us a little bit about why Jeffsy was added to the lineup in the first place.
Yeah, basically we started in 2008 with a dirt jump bike and grew from, I would say, from the top level, from downhill and free riding, travel-wise a little bit more down. So we came in 2014 with the Capra, with the enduro bike, but all the bikes we developed in the past were heavily gravity inspired. That's our DNA, and this makes also the difference, I would say, on most of the YT bikes, or let's say at all of the YT bikes. And in 2014 was like that we considered that there are more 29ers coming on the market, and the trail bike would also make sense in our lineup, we said, but it has to be different.
Yeah.
So we tested a lot of competitor bikes, and we figured out, okay, bottom bracket height is a little bit too high, or the steering angle was a bit too steep and all the stuff. So it didn't feel like a real gravity bike.
Okay.
And that was our goal, to create a trail bike with gravity DNA. And that's why we came up with the Jeffsy.
Yeah, definitely.
And at that time, everyone tried to establish the cross-country geometry from 26 or whatsoever, and just on wagon wheels, and that, to be honest, didn't work out. So
no,
that's what we know now.
Yeah, 29ers were not a lot of fun back in 2016, I don't think. But yeah, the Jeffsy was one of the first fun ones. Markus, the name of the Jeffsy's got a bit of a story behind it, which we learned a bit about earlier in the week. Just tell us about how that got.
Yeah, absolutely. As you probably know, we have kind of funny or weird names sometimes for our products. And it's not that we came up with the names on a regular basis. It's like really, we have a certain idea or an impact, or we sit together and then have a beer or whatever. And it's a funny evening, and then somebody pops a name or pops out an idea, and then we start developing that. And with Jeffsy, it was exactly the same, because the Jeffsy, the bike itself in our lineup, is considered as like your best friend. It's not a specialist in a certain kind of area, like in downhill or in climbing or whatever. It's like a bike what you can do nearly everything. And that's why we talked a lot about who could be your best friend or who is your best friend. And then Steve Jones, at this time he was still at Dirtmac UK. We met in his local pub in his village, Newland, and the pub is called The Ostrich, and we went there also 2 days ago. And it was like, he came up with the name and said, "Hey, I know somebody, his name is Jeffsy, and he's so helpful. He's so nice. If you need somebody who bring up the fridge in the second floor, call Jeffsy." And he is helping the guys and the kids in the woods, building trails and so on. And so the name was born.
Yeah, amazing. So it's just a random guy from
a
pub, a mate of Steve Jones's. Love it.
Who popped in like 2 days ago in the pub, or a couple of days ago. Yeah.
So you still see him, you still hang out.
Yeah, definitely.
Does he ride a Jeffsy?
Yes.
Nice. I like it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's cool. How did he feel about having a bike named after him?
He feels quite privileged, I would say. He told me a story. I don't know. I can't remember exactly in what park he was, but he was sitting in a lift, and people beside him were talking about Jeffsy and the bike and so on. And I say, "I'm Jeffsy."
That must be so. For both parties involved, that must have been a pretty strange thing to happen.
Have thought like, "What? Yeah, interesting that you're Jeffsy. See you later, bro."
Yeah, I'm not sure many people realise that there is actually a Jeffsy. Like, that's pretty cool. You're not known for shying away from your marketing campaigns and going pretty hard in that area, and Jeffsy came onto the scene in a pretty spectacular way, I guess, with a huge teaser campaign. Markus, give us some thoughts on that. Jeffsy
MK1 was a complete new approach for us, and also campaign wise, we decided to run a teaser phase where a beautiful lady just was saying, "I hate Jeffsy," without any YT logo or whatever. And we run that over a few weeks online and in print magazines as well. And everybody was guessing, who the fuck is Jeffsy? And this was quite nice. And then on launch day, we revealed the video as well. So basically it was the girlfriend of a guy who was really annoyed that her boyfriend is just on the trails with his new best friend, with Jeffsy.
Love it.
Doesn't have any time for her anymore.
Yeah, it's cool. And pretty appropriate, I guess, to a lot of people buying bikes and seeing their partner's reaction. You then somehow managed to trump that and went pretty heavy for Jeffsy Mark II.
Definitely. So the friendship theme was, of course, in the product and in the first campaign, and we want to keep that also for the future and also for the Mark III. So for the Mark II, we decided to bring friendship, the topic, on the next level.
Yeah.
So we wrote an ode to friendship, and we had the chance to get Christopher Walken on board for this campaign video, where he's talking over 2 minutes what real friendship means. And this was quite a strong statement, and it went viral.
Yeah, it did. Was Christopher Walken your first choice for that role?
Yes, it was our first choice. And when we spoke out the name or the actor we want to have for our media agency, said, "No, forget it. We don't need to ask, because he is way too expensive, and he only had 3 or 4 commercials in his whole career. Now he's quite old, and he won't do that." And I said again, "Okay, please ask." And no, forget it. He said, please ask. And then we sent over the script. He read it and he said, yes. The only thing was we had to come over to his place to film because he don't want to fly over the Atlantic anymore. So this was the only point, but absolutely fine for us, of course. And so sometimes you shouldn't be too shy. Just ask what you want. Yeah,
very cool.
Ask for.
Very cool, but that sets the bar really high.
Definitely. So getting another Oscar winner wasn't on the plate for us. So we decided to go in a completely new direction. And we all know the 80s are back more or less. And when I grew up, I watched all these QVC shows and also those action figure toys from Masters of the Universe, for example. So we decided to do a kind of commercial clip for the Jeffsy, and we created an action figure. Jeffsy itself, with the power of friendship, with the fist bump of friendship. So he's a pretty big fist on the right arm. And so we came up with the idea doing this kind of toy commercial, and afterwards also flickering over on this VHS style type video to a QVC show, where I had the chance to promote the bike on a turntable in a really, really weird way.
And I've seen it at this point. I've seen it without the sound because you haven't quite finished it at the point we're having this conversation. By the time this episode goes live, it will be out there in the public domain. But just watching it without the sound, we were all like laughing and chuckling at, I mean, just the look of it and the way they've got you dressed.
It was the same for us on set. We were laughing like hell. It was insane. I got a proper wig on it, and I thought, okay, looks quite nice. I should keep it. And then I asked for if I can buy it, and they said, okay, it's 5,000K.
Just for the hairpiece? No way.
5K, sorry.
We can get you cheaper ones. There's no problem.
Oh my God. Just for the wig. I said, okay.
Crazy. How long does a shoot like that take?
So we filmed for 2 days in total. We had 1 day outdoor and 1 day in the studio, and the part where I was acting was half a day.
Okay. Was it easy to get your lines out, or was it kind of hard to do without laughing?
Honestly, I missed a bit time of preparation, so I had to learn my lines 2 days prior. So I was quite under pressure, but it worked out somehow.
Yeah, amazing. And will the action figure be available? Like, we've seen one in the packaging and everything.
Yes, Jeffsy will be available, and we will pack it to some of the bikes.
Yeah,
as a surprise.
Nice. And I guess it's going to be quite a collectible item because there's not going to be millions of these things floating around. Hey?
It's limited. We had to take a certain amount, and we made a nice packaging also for it. And so on some bikes he will appear.
And how much does it look like the real Jeffsy?
Basically, the real Jeffsy also has a beard.
Okay.
So that comes quite close. Of course, the action figure looks more like a He-Man, muscle-wise, but basically not so far away.
Okay, nice. I like it. Very cool.
The fists are different size.
Yeah, the fists are
it's got the
different.
fist pump of friendship. Yeah, I love it. Let's talk a bit more about the bike. Frank, where do you start with a project like this, right? You've got the Mark II Jeffsy, very successful, popular bike. You decide you want to go Mark III, you want to improve things, you want to make stuff better. How does that project initiation phase happen? Like, what information's coming to you? How are you putting together? I guess there's like some kind of deck that says, right, here are our targets, here's what we're going after. Like, how do you pull all that together?
Good question. Considering specifically the Jeffsy MK3 is like, I told you already, like we're talking about the bike now, but from R&D perspective, rewriting that bike for more than 1 year. And input is coming more or less from a lot of different directions. Rewrite the bike. We, as a direct selling company, we do have the benefit to look in customers' bikes frequently because they're running through the customer service workshop. We hanging out on rolling circuses, like being out in the field,
which is your demo tour for people that don't know.
Tour worldwide. And we do have the chance to have deep insights from every single direction. Or speaking to athletes, I went to Léger last week, and there are a lot of different influences. And I would say our strength is like we do have a super motivated R&D team, and we not try to improve products. So everyone is super motivated and passionate about mountain bikes and try to improve themselves, like changing perspectives and learning and growing up. And it's an ongoing process, so there is no actual break involved. Like it's every day learning and improving. Like having a look now on MK1, that's what we did in the pub. Is like, that's interesting.
Why do we do that? Yeah, things change, right?
Yeah, things changed. There are new products, components coming in, like UDHs coming from different directions. New standards, old standards. And there's more information than you can handle. So there's more or less, it's not the process like we're going to seek for information. What should we do is more or less like putting a filter over it, and by filtering out, that's interesting but not relevant. And let's focus on this and that, even if it's the shape, the aesthetics. We do have a design language initiated by Markus. That's a really important thing as well. And even that is evolving. And you can see, good example is the head box, we call it, is the head tube area, the iterations we went through and how it started as just a decal or masking to a 3D shaped head box, which a certain function. And it's a complex process, and it's more like, hey, let's pick out the most relevant bits and pieces.
So everything's evolving together, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, how big a project is it? Like if you compare it to, like, let's say the Scepter, which was a whole new bike from the ground up, compare it to an iterative, like moving from a Mark II to a Mark III. Like, how do those projects compare in scale?
Normally we compared like the Scepter, or worst case like Decoy, which is the worst case from capacity point of view, best case for the market because it's an awesome product. But there we started more or less from scratch. And for the Jeffsy, we decided, that should be facelift. So there's a different scale and timeline for sure, and a different scaling capacity.
But facelift doesn't mean that we only changed the look. So we also worked, of course, on the kinematics, on the geometry, on those major points.
Maybe that term is tricking. Like even if it's a facelift, we do review every single bolt and screw and axle and hardware and nearly everything.
And I guess there are certain underpinnings that make a Jeffsy, and you want to keep that
absolutely
like all the way through. So we're still full 29. Like certain elements of it are fundamental to what the bike is, I suppose. That's why we do review everything, but we try to keep the right feel. And that's more or less the driving factor. Like say, hey, that's as a trail bike, 150 mil bike, and it should feel like this and that. And that's the driving force. That's a starting point, and then we do evaluate what it takes to get there.
And of course it also has to fit in our lineup. So between the different models, like the Capra, what has a little bit more travel, and the ISO with less travel, so it should fit right in between, that our customer clearly know which is the right bike to go for.
It makes that decision a bit easier, I guess. There's not too much overlap between the different models. So what were the key targets then for Jeffsy Mark III? Like what were let's say the top 3 or 4 things that you wanted to achieve with the product?
Fun on the trails. Like should be a versatile but capable bike. Because that's what you find in every product we do. We are like gravity DNA. That's what we take in us, and that's what you can find and feel in every ride with our products. And it's a versatile bike. It's a capable bike. Has 29-inch wheels because they do have a lot of benefits, and it should go up the hill. On the same level like going downhill, so there's a perfect balance between the uphill and the downhill. That's more or less the scope of the bike. It's not a specialist, but it's like the Swiss Army knife.
Were there like more specific, almost like measurable things added into that mix? Like, so you've got the addition of storage. I'm guessing that was like a big thing from the get-go. Like, we're following the industry, we're following the trends. People are more and more wanting to ride without a pack or whatever.
It's not like people, it's us as well, because we're part of the people. That's,
exactly.
That's the most fun part.
Definitely.
Specifically when it comes, you name it, the down tube storage was a must-have on that bike because it makes sense. Super tricky. big challenge. Like as the first bike, we do have it. But I think, or you experience it, that even if we invested a lot of capacity, somewhat works and better than expected. No, just kidding. It's there's a lot of there's a German word. It's called Hirnschmalz.
Okay.
It's more or less brain wax. So it is just the extra bit of grinding to get there.
Yeah.
Because opening a down tube at a certain point in that dimension, like putting a hole in something, sounds super easy. But if you try to ride on the thing, that's a more complex task.
Yeah.
You put on your desk, and we R&D engineers are German, so maybe go a little bit overboard. Like the cover, the lid on that bike is like super heavy, over-engineered. And kind of nerve-wracking, like.
I was quite surprised how much development money you can spend on such a boring part.
Yeah, I think we should talk about that because you're right. Like on the surface of it, it's boring, and people are just going to open it and close it and never think about it.
Black piece of plastic, you know.
But we sat down last night after dinner, and you got out all these like. I don't know what 15 different levers.
That's
10
what we
different
just
closures.
bought here because otherwise it would be too boring for you. With a couple of boxes.
Like it, I think people will miss quite how important that is. But I'm an engineer. My background is engineering, and I love the elegance of the design solution that you've ended up with. But like the guys were saying, that was pretty much 9 months work to get that right.
Yeah.
Where's the complaint? Like, and you have I think you've looked at other examples of this in the market and tried to do it better as well, right? It's not just like this is a tricky thing to do. You've set out to do it better, right?
It's not based on personal preference because that's stupid. And for sure, we're checking what's going on outside, what's good, what's bad, and where's space to improve.
Yeah.
And even if it's like you've seen the lever to open it, the mechanism, you can spend half of the life like getting the haptics or acoustics, the haptics, and everything that requires like surfaces, going really into deep analysis, how you open it, what fingers are you using, you're using it with gloves when it's wet, when your thumb is numb or your fingers are numb because it's stupid cold outside, and there's everything, in our opinion, you should consider to make it right.
Yeah.
Or at least with a high percentage of that's nearly perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just a lever.
Yeah.
And there's a funny story. There's a bushing in it to guarantee that the function is right. And as a 2K plastic part, the lid itself.
Yeah.
So we added a sealing lip to the outside, and even that like getting that sealing lip into the right shore hardness to make it water resistant, and that's it's
which is like how hard or soft the rubber is basically. Yeah.
Because then there's a shrinkage and there's a deformation, and then the different tolerances like it's an own ecosystem in an ecosystem.
Yeah, but people will never notice probably on the whole because it just works.
And in the end, if you they just want to say, we had an idea, we nailed it, works perfect, and you try to hide how much work you really invested in because it's maybe it's ridiculous for people like just make it right. Well, I mean, it's a piece of plastic.
I would say if nobody complains about it, we did our job good.
100%.
Well.
Yeah, a good design goes unnoticed, basically, which is sad, but it's
and you cannot see it. It's not obvious.
Yeah. And then even then, once you've got the kind of opening and the closure side of it sorted, it's not even just as simple as then stuffing all your things in the down tube, right? There's baffles so that things don't get lost, and you've designed like bags that fit specifically.
That's the thing. If you start to opening the down tube or any tube on the frame, you have to take care of the inside. Yeah. And you're opening another different world. Like, oh shit, there's the cable routing going through that, and there's bonding tubes, and maybe it's open towards the down tube. And if you've seen funny videos of people poking with some sticks in their bikes to get in their car because they're missing the key or whatsoever. That's everything you figure out, like doing a review, what's going on outside, and what exactly we want to achieve. Mm-hmm. And for sure, it's like the best design is like avoiding problems or solving problems and not creating different other problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's the difference between design and good design.
For sure. And even the neoprene on the bags that are inside the frame, you've thought about which way around the neoprene goes.
Oh, yeah, I can tell you, even with that, maybe sometimes we go overboard. Like we tested, I don't know how many bags still flying around in different shapes, different sizes, different materials. And in the end, we decided to go with neoprene material, but put it inside out.
Uh-huh.
So having the soft neoprene material on the inside to avoid any rattling noises, and putting the more or less water resistant side towards the outside because it's a bigger help there.
Yeah, and it helps the bag slide in and out of the frame.
Yeah, more easy. Yeah. We had different materials, and it's easy to get them stuck or whatsoever. As a full-time job, more or less. To figure that out.
Amazing. And you've kept the bottle cage mount separate from the opening into the frame, whereas most brands combine them. What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, it's problem solving thinking, because what we figured out on our own experience is like it might look more clever to put everything on the lid itself, like you can take it off easily and everything it looks clean. But in reality, if you're putting a filled up water bottle on a small piece of plastic, and you're going out for a ride and not just a beer garden ride ride we do or we did, there's a lot of like stress going into or through the screws in that plastic part, and that creates issues like long term.
Okay.
And that's where we said, no compromises here. Even it looks like you have a lid and there's a water bottle cage, to separate two items that make sense.
Impressive to fit that on the frame, right? To have that and a 620ml bottle separate it's quite an effort.
And still get the kinematics in the right place.
Of course,
this is the main point, especially on our system, the virtual forelink. It's like because we go on the down tube, so the shock mount is on the down tube, so that limits the space as well. So it was quite tricky.
Yeah, but you got there.
Somehow.
I hope so.
So, I mean, obviously that whole thing is brand new to you and a big engineering challenge because you've taken it on in a very detailed and thorough way. What other big challenges were there with this Jeffsy Mark III? What were the big hurdles to get across?
I wouldn't say big hurdles. It was good fun. If you talk about some USPs of the bike, geometry and kinematics, like you said, is always like that creates a certain ride feel.
Yeah.
And that's everything we're going to review again. That's always like number one, like how we want to let the bike feel on the ride. So how should the kinematics feel like? With the Jeffsy MK3, we figured out there's a certain amount of anti-squat.
Okay.
We have to dial in and always consider it in right sec to create a certain amount of acceleration, because that's good fun in trail riding. And like we had here, like flat, soft corners, and you still want to have a smooth ride. You need grip. That's the point we talk about. Pedal kickback, there's always a big topic. We try to drop them rapidly. For sure, there's end progression always like a big topic. Even like we figured out, you UK guys, you're really into building jumps, and you don't give a fuck about landing. So it's always like hug to flat, and that's where that bike can shine. With that,
it does feel quite bottomless, to be fair. Like I thought this was quite cool. You took us on a ride before giving us any information on the bike, so we didn't know any of the numbers. And at lunch asked us to write down some of the key figures from what we'd felt from the morning.
Bike bingo,
which is one of them was the rear travel. And I think we all, or at least 2 out of the 3 of us, put more than it actually has.
It does. You did.
It does have a bottomless feel to it. It feels a bigger bike.
That's what we try to achieve.
Impressive.
And the effective C-tube angle was also a big topic for the different sizes.
Like geometry, like you said, the effective, or everyone knows there's several numbers like effective C-tube angle and actual C-tube angle. Kind of complicated, and we took it even there next level, make it even more complicated. So we're talking about the effective C-tube angle on average saddle height.
Across all frame sizes.
Specifically, that's still a myth, like that C-tube angle. Normally it goes like you're figuring out for the first size you're developing, because you're going into a certain sequence, and you're nailing down geometry, and you're calculating the geometries for the other frame sizes. And what normally happens, not only what happens to everyone or every brands, the smaller you get in frame size, the steeper the effective C-tube angle will get, which isn't a problem.
Yeah.
The bigger issue is like the bigger you go in frame size, the slacker the C-tube angle gets.
Yeah.
And if you are like an extra large, double extra large guy, and you're riding the full drop of your seat post, your weight gets shift heavily towards the rear axle.
Yeah.
And that's quite unfair to bigger guys. And that's why we put in that elbow grease, like figuring out how to get there. And what you can say in a Jeffsy MK3, every single frame size has guaranteed the same effective C-tube angle on saddle height by 77 degrees, which is a super modern geometry.
Yep.
And it's the guarantee that everyone has the same ride feel.
Yeah, super good. And I guess combined with that is the chainstay length, right?
Yeah.
So you've gone with, I think you've got 2 sizes on chainstay.
Yeah. Like it's not like the just dialing out the C-tube angle geometry is in other ecosystem. And meanwhile, we figured out that it's not really important to have the shortest chainstay length to have a fun ride. It's more about to have a well-balanced geometry. Specifically, if you're going for longer rides and spending some hours on that bike, should pedal awesome. That it's a lot of work to do, like figuring out the right geometry.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, my experience was that it's a very easy bike to get on with. Like, you get on it, you ride it. I didn't feel like I was moving around on the bike trying to get the grip to balance front to rear, or like I wasn't losing the front end at any point. Like, it feels like, is that part, did you set out to make a bike that's easy to ride?
Sure.
As well as fun to ride?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And that the balanced ride feel, like I said, that's super important, because otherwise, like you say, like losing front wheel grip, like that's horrible. That's we all hate, and that comes with a certain chainstay length.
Yeah.
And just make it too short, and your body weight will get shifted towards the front or the rear end, and it most of the times ended up in like a mess. Not go for a ride on Saturday because bike sucks.
Yeah. And keeping that feel across the range, because I guess I'm fairly lucky in that I'm generally a medium in most brands, but some people, if they're a small or an extra large, they've suffered in some instances of the balance moving away from the optimum, where maybe it is in the middle of the range, but you've countered that, I guess.
Unfortunately, that's the fact. But that's not we're going to do. We've tried to figure out each geometry, and not only that, if you review products you can find out there, to me at least, you can see an aesthetical drop when it's come to the smaller frame sizes. Like, small sizes normally look like better to have it, but kind of compromised. Yeah.
And you've also managed to keep it, as well as keeping it like easy to ride and balance, you've managed to keep the ride feel kind of playful and fun. Yeah, which I find a lot of 29ers, I ride a mullet most of the time, and this bike has come the closest to me forgetting that I'm on a full 29er. You get that occasional thing if it gets steep where you can feel your rear wheel, and as a shorter rider there's a bit less room to move. But broadly speaking, I found I forgot that it was a full 29, other than some of the benefits of rollover and stability. But how have you gone about trying to keep that playful, poppy, like lively ride feel? Like it feels quick to maneuver, but also kind of ready to like pop and hop and skip lines and jump over stuff.
Yeah, and that's the combination of everything I spoke about. Is the geometry, is the head tube angle, just the chainstay length, specifically the kinematics. Everything plays together, and that's why it's so complicated to generate that, because it's super complex to figure that out, and it's just to have to tweak here and there, and not only saying like we need longer reach. Yeah, we need longer reach. That's too, or would be awesome, but that's too simple.
Yeah, and you go into quite a lot of detail on setup. So your setup guides, I've ridden a few of your bikes over the last couple of years, and I've always been pretty impressed with like how good the base settings are from the website. And that was echoed this week with the setup that we had. I think I changed one click of high-speed rebound on the fork just because I'm unfit and my arms weren't really up to the job. But otherwise, like the settings are pretty bang on, which I think is cool for people because a lot of people either just ignore that and don't do anything with it or spend ages puzzling. Like, how do you guys approach getting those setup guides?
Riding.
Really? Just hours? Yeah?
We ride a lot, and we do have specific R&D riders. And it's like the never-ending story, like working with suspension suppliers, like figuring out the right tune. I think that's still an untold story.
Yeah.
So every shock you can buy on our bike or coming with the bike is specifically tuned for that kinematics. And we're investing a lot of time, like having ride camps where we try different shock tunes and then we tweak here and there and getting back and forth and changing this, and then you figure out, no, the older one or the last one would have been better. So it's the never-ending chase for the right tune.
Yeah.
And then for sure we going and you're setting up the range, and like you've set up down to like we need 4 clicks high speed compression on that.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot through the rolling circus.
Okay.
So once you joined the rolling circus, we test our recommendation frequently, like are we still on track, or what's the feedback out of the field? Is like people complaining about it, or are they happy with it? So we can adjust if needed. Okay.
So you're getting feedback from a really wide range of riding ability.
Through the whole year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, through the whole product range. And
nice. That's cool.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Yeah. Let's talk about aluminium versus carbon. Like Markus, where this whole brand came from you wanting to create accessible products, like good price points for people. And I guess that's part of what keeps aluminium like an important part of the brand.
Absolutely. So offering high-end products for a good price-performance ratio, this was always my main goal since the beginning. And but it's not the only reason why we keep aluminium in our lineup, because there are a lot of aluminium lovers out there. They really prefer this material instead of carbon fiber. And I guess it comes to the point where we say it makes sense to keep both on the lineup. Also, we have a model where we share exactly the same specification on a carbon fiber frame and the aluminium frame to offer the same stuff for alloy lovers. But at the end of the day, of course, it helps us to manage or getting a super nice entry-level price for our Core 1.
Yeah.
And what we achieved with the new Jeffsy Core 1, it's in my opinion one of the best bikes on the market, not only because of the performance. It's really for $2,500 a bike like that, it's insane.
I would share that statement. Like when you showed us it earlier in the week, I was pretty blown away by what you've been able to achieve at that price. And I guess that leads us to talking about spec. Like, I think there's some cool stuff. I think it's really cool that you've spec'd the same tires across the whole range. Like, you haven't compromised on that. And I think a lot of effort went into, if I'm right, the brake choice as well for that low end. Like, you've picked those 2 key performance things that make a bike work, like good tires, good brakes,
and good suspension,
and good suspension.
Good kinematics, good geometry, and
says the engineers talking again. But yeah, like it must be hard to put together. It's not easy, but I would imagine it's easier to design a super expensive high-end model than it is to design something that's nearly as good for way, way, way less money, right?
Absolutely. When you go full high end, then you have all the options. You can pick the best what you want, what you need, what you like, whatever. And but when it comes down to the budget version, you have to be really sensitive by picking the right parts, because we don't want to sell a bike with fake parts or with parts who are not able on this to perform on this level.
Yeah.
So there it's getting tricky. So it takes way more time to develop a Core 1 instead of a Core 5.
Yeah. And to make it, it looks good. It looks like it's part of the range.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're left out on the sort of the cheap stuff kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's
but
cool.
I'm still happy that then we can claim, we're going the same distance or investing the same capacity in developing an aluminum bike.
Yeah.
And having their companies, they only do aluminum bikes, but we do both materials.
Yeah.
And we spoke about that. We have some really aluminum heads, like engineers, specifically for the Jeffsy. Props go to Harald. He's the engineer, and he doesn't give a shit about carbon fiber bikes.
Yeah, you were saying the guys behind the alley products at work, they wouldn't ride. They're like, no, we're having the aluminium.
I mean, they
ones.
would
Like,
if they get forced to, but if they could pick, there's no discussion. Yeah,
they love it that much.
Yeah.
And it's a big challenge, right? Like you've got some quite interesting shapes in the carbon, like the YT identity, like you talked about. The head box is super important. The logo placement, all this kind of stuff is a big part of what makes a bike a YT bike. And creating that in like hydroformed aluminium tubing, that's not a simple piece of work, huh?
That's not simple, and it's also not cheap.
Yeah.
And even here we learn over the time. I can remember we had a certain period of time we say, hey, that's the carbon fiber bike. Make it same look, just different material.
Yeah.
And you ending up in a nightmare. Like that's most of the time not even possible, or you have to fake it and tweak it here and there, which is
then it gets super heavy just to get this shape. And
that's where we learn. We have reviewed some aluminum tubes yesterday.
Yeah, you had some of the raw tubes. Yeah,
we learn over the time because we do have good partners, and we do learn every day from each other, like how to deal with aluminum material in the right way.
Yeah.
And still keeping our design language, which is like, if we would bring in designers, if we experience that, we can talk about all the small little details for hours, but it's the silhouette, it's the weight distribution, it's the tube dimensions, and everything comes together to let it, or to generate the YT specific look.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work we learned, but I think for the Jeffsy, it looks awesome for
sure.
For this price points, it's mind blowing.
And you've had to, I guess your relationship with the factories you use, the manufacturers you must have to be super strong, because you're pushing them. I mean, I'm sure on the carbon as well, but definitely on the aluminium side, like you're pushing them pretty hard, like to get better at what they're doing, to be able to create new shapes. Like
we are quite a nightmare for them.
The Shermans are coming. No, actually, it's good fun, and sometimes it's helpful to put a certain amount of pressure. That's what they do with us as well.
Yeah.
Pushing us, like keeping timelines. Hey, you have to deliver. But actually, as a good long-term partnership, we avoid to hop from A to B and back again and chasing the best price. We're chasing for the best product.
Yeah.
And that requires a strong and reliable partnership.
Yeah. Nice. How does the specification side of things work then? Obviously, there's a huge amount that goes into the lower end, like we talked about, but like creating the spec across the range, is it like a bit of online shopping, or are you like, is everyone at work out on all the new product, trying everything? Because there's a lot of products out there, and the vast majority of stuff is pretty good these days, but there's definitely bits that are better than others. How do you think about and go about putting together the spec of all the different models, and how much impact is like availability and COVID kind of related issues still having on that stuff? Because I know some brands have struggled in the last 3 years or so to be able to have consistent stock of certain things.
We all struggle, to be honest.
Yeah. So how do those specs come together? Who wants to take that?
We do have a product managing team.
Okay.
So there are dedicated people taking care of that, like figuring out what's available, or we are still in frequent touch with all the component suppliers, like, hey, what's the latest shit? And even there, we do have strong partnerships, like they pick us up with new products. When they're not sure, they're asking, we go for testing, and it's the never-ending process. And at a certain point, you have to finger point, I want to get this and that, and for sure price is a topic as well.
Yeah.
But the driving force is like how we want to have that specific spec feels on a trail, and then you are chasing down the performance, and then you're figuring out, that's too expensive. It's just kidding. It's this a lot of ping pong back and forth, but the performance of the product or the specific spec, that's the driving force.
Yeah. And there's obviously like a lot of consideration that goes into it. There was a comment on one of the rides this week, like, why have you not used the new AXS shifter pods on this model? And it was cool, Markus. It was nice to hear your like genuine response to that. You're not personally weren't a fan, and you don't like how that looks on the bike.
So I guess everybody knows that I'm quite honest with my opinions, and it was like when we got the pods for testing, the first what I recognized was that they are fucking ugly.
I can prove that. I can still can hear that.
And I said, okay, we develop a high-end mountain bike and try to get everything slick and as close as possible to the handlebar. And then you have this big block underneath the handlebar. It was a huge step back for me. And I said, okay, even if they are way cheaper than the other versions, what they offer, I don't want to have it on my bikes, not even on a Core 1.
Yeah.
So we spent a few bucks more on each bike just to get the right shifters. Nobody will really notice it, or maybe not, that's maybe wrong, but nobody will decide to go for the bike or to not go for the bike because of the shifters. But for me, it was a hard thing. I said, okay, that's
they're out.
Yeah,
and the other ones do look a lot better, to be fair. I'm with you.
I think, at least for me, that's the beauty in our brand. It's not like we do have some Excel spreadsheet juggling product managers. It's still a team effort. And even Markus, as a founder, is still involved in chasing down the right spec. And it's like not like going shopping. It's more like we're sitting around with a couple of friends after a ride and more or less picking the spec.
Yeah.
And then figuring out, oh yeah, that's too expensive, or no, that's something we can afford, or that doesn't make sense, even if it's the latest product. And the product the spec might be different if we would run like spreadsheets chasing down the cheapest bike or creating the biggest margin we ever can.
Yeah, nice. And is this the first time we've had a Core 5?
Yeah, it's the first time because this is also the first time that we really offer a core model in aluminium and carbon fiber with the same specification. Yeah. So this adds in, and this is the reason why the Core 5 is...
okay. So it's pushed everything...
Exactly.
Okay. So it's not like basically it's a higher end.
It would be a Core 4, but in this case it went up to Core 5.
Yeah. Interesting. It'd be cool to see the difference in demand between those two models, Ali and carbon with the same spec, because it's a super good spec.
Absolutely.
It'd be interesting to see which way people go. Do you have a feel for, like, if someone was toying between the two different materials, let's say money was no object, like from a performance perspective, how would you describe the difference between the two? So that's an interesting question.
Oh yeah, it's the never-ending question, to be honest. It's that you can say it's the same for wheel sets and car.
Of course, yeah.
If we nail it down to material, I would say carbon is a bit more precise.
Yeah.
And for sure, weight is always a factor. But I would say if you're chasing down for a precise ride feel, pick the carbon ones. If you're chasing down a more compliant ride feel, go for the aluminum.
Okay.
It's a different performance on the same high level.
Yeah.
I would say that's the baseline.
Yeah.
So if you were hitting trails like we did, like blind, and they're rough trails and rock gardens coming, and you're not sure, maybe the aluminum a little bit more compliance is a better
more forgiving in that respect.
Yeah, and that's why, for example, I told you we picked the aluminum wheels for all bikes. Just because of that, because trail riding is nothing you can train. It's not like downhill where you have to all the time the same trails and you know every stick and every stone. It's more like hit the trail, have fun, and go for it. And
it's a less accurate like riding style probably. You're not millimeter
a little bit more
perfect.
forgiving.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, one difference between the alloy frame and carbon fiber is also the storage. Not to forget. So if somebody's really fancy having the storage in the frame, then he has to go for a carbon fiber.
Course. Fair. Makes sense. Let's talk about one of the other big like topics at the moment: headset cable routing.
Is that a topic?
It seems to be. There's a lot of bikes coming out with it.
What is that? At least not for us. Oh yeah, that's like you say. There's a big discussion. Like if you go through comments on websites, it's like there's strong opinions currently on the market. It's relatively easy for us, and I get that. It's fair enough. It looks tidy. It looks clean. It's super quiet. If it's worked out perfectly, and if you don't have to maintain a bike.
Yeah.
And that's the drawback, unfortunately. Everything is aesthetically awesome, but if it comes down to maintenance or serviceability, we don't do that.
Yeah. And I'm guessing a lot of thought goes into that side of things because you want to make it as easy as possible for whether it's a shop or a customer, like to be able to work on their own bike.
Yeah, considering the whole cycle, we try to get people back on the bike as fast as possible. So we would have to invest more in engineering without having the benefit like that's better than our cable routing system currently, because everything is internal cable routed, and it's super easy to do for if you a customer, you want to change the hoses or whatsoever, or change a brake. It's easy. Just there's a hole here, stuff it in here, it comes out over there. Period.
Yeah.
And that everything starts to get sideways if you're doing that thing. And in terms of serviceability, if you as a customer, you ship the bike to us and like get it serviced, it would require even more or longer lead times in that exactly that terms, and that's not in our interest. It's like, imagine there's a peak season and these bikes are coming in, they're messing up the whole process, and see you later, bro, you get your bike when first snow is coming. And everything adds up. Like, no, don't do that.
Even some of the smaller stuff, right? You've moved the bolt access to one of the linkage bolts on this version over the last one, right?
Yeah.
Just simple things that make everyone's life easier, I guess.
Yeah, that's if you talked about or asked me about the requirement sheet, what we put on that, and serviceability is always a topic for all the bikes.
Yeah.
Even if it comes down to put all screw heads on one side to gain easy access and not letting you run around the bike in circles to change or open screws.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to that as well.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that integrated one's get rid of it.
Fair play.
Yeah.
So it's
integrated one's dead.
Yeah. It's been a long project, right? And you said you've been riding around on this bike for pretty much 12 months. How does it feel to finally get it in front of people? Like, you've had a number of like journalists through, you've got more coming, but like you're getting people on the bike now. How does it feel to finally like get it out there, get people on it, get people experiencing it? Because it's up until that point, like, I mean, you guys obviously are happy with it because otherwise you wouldn't be releasing it. But like, it must be interesting to start getting that feedback.
For me, it's always like really a special moment. Getting the bike out and have the first journalist riding it, and I'm really waiting to see their reactions and how did they come back, do they have a smile on the face or not. And for me in this case of the new Jeffsy was quite similar, because I didn't have a chance to ride it before the press camp by myself.
No way, really?
Because the last half year I was so busy, and I was traveling around the world, and
it's so hard to catch him. So impossible.
This was indeed the first group. It was my first day on the new Jeffsy, and honestly, and it's not marketing, whatever. I was blown away.
Okay.
How dialed it is.
Yeah.
It's like it feels even more gravity inspired, like the first one we did. Way more.
Yeah.
I brought the first one, the Mark 1, what I rode on the first press camp in 2016. I brought it to the pub as well.
Yeah.
And when you look at the bike in comparison, at this time it was already oh my god, wow.
Yeah.
But now it of course looks quite old. And I was like back in the days on the first one, I was so impressed about the performance and about the handling of the bike. It feels so playful, so much fun for me. So the guys did a really, really great job. So from my side, thanks a lot to the whole R&D department, because they know what they are doing.
Yeah. And it was cool to see like how many of you guys came out for this event. Like, it shows how much it means to you to see the reactions and to like be there to answer questions, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really appreciated like having the chance to meet so many of the people behind it. It's been super cool. But I guess it's good for you guys as well to like have that
direct connection, feedback. It's super impossible.
Yeah. Imagine you join for a band, like, and you writing a song or whatsoever, and then you going around and you training a lot, and then there's the final gig, like, and you're hoping for applause, like, and always appreciate, like, we try to bring in the R&D people as well, because they are creating actually doing the actual work. And it's always good to see the the final product, like presenting the final product, is like singing your own created song. I mean, let other people sing it, like nah. But yeah, I would love to bring even more people in and get it experience.
Yeah.
Even if it's nerve-wracking, like.
Yeah. And how much thought goes into the trails that you use for an event like this? Because obviously every bike in the range is slightly different. Do you try and...
A lot.
Okay. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. So the guys do trail scouting weeks and months before to figure out the right trails for the bike that you can get the full experience and not only a part of it. Because we claim, especially on the Jeffsy, it's a bike you can do everything with it. So it's 50-50 uphill and downhill. Yeah. So we needed trails, natural trails, where we also have to climb a little bit. I know it was a bit annoying for us at the first day.
And some people pulled out, I heard, because it was too tough. Not finger pointing on anyone here.
But yeah, the mixture is really key.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was a super good mix actually. Like the first day was like relatively, not like flat, but like much lower, less gradient kind of thing, more like playful, you like appreciating how quickly the bike accelerates and rolls, and the benefits of the 29er with more pedaling, so you could see that side of it. And the second day was like steeper, a bit more tech, a mixture of sort of flow, and we rode some pretty janky stuff towards the end of the day. And thanks to the Welsh weather, it was pretty slippery. It's been cool to see like all the different things that the bike can do, and it has that. I don't think I really got the friendship piece initially, but having spent a couple of days on it, like in all those different locations, I totally get where you're coming from with like, it's just a bike that sort of got your back, whatever you do with it, which is, it's cool. And we rode some wicked trails supported by a couple of amazing trail associations. And I didn't realize until pretty recently that you guys support some of these trail associations through like the demo side of things.
Yeah. There's, with every bike a demo, there's 15 pounds collected. Yeah. And it's like we try to work with the guys here around to maintain trails, because there's always a lot of work to let us enjoy the weekend or the ride. And we consider ourselves as a core brand. Yeah. We are core mountain bike riders, and we always appreciate nice trails. And we thought there might be good benefit if we get involved somehow.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice way to do it. Hey,
it sounds easy, like with everything. Like shoveling somewhere in the woods sounds maybe not so exhausting, but it's getting people motivated. It's a lot of work. Everyone who tries to build a trail, it's not like a lot of work. You have to know what you do. You can mess it up in every corner. Maybe we should encourage these people here to build some landings. That would be maybe the next step then. Yeah.
It's just because you're going so fast, you're missing the landings, dude.
Oh, actually, that happened quite a
There were quite a few overshoots this week.
Yeah. Even yesterday, it was like, that was a little too far.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think that's we don't speak about that. Yeah. Not even often, like nearly never. Yeah. But it's not like we putting that on our website, because that's what cool. We do.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people not a lot of money for someone to demo a bike, but put all that together, and it makes a big difference to these like small, basically fully volunteer-led associations that are doing cool stuff for all of us to ride. So it's good.
That's the feedback we heard. Like we bring actually a lot of money compared to others. Like
okay, good on you. Appreciate it. Nice. Before we wrap up, then I'll ask you both the same question. Like, what are you most proud of in the Jeffsy Mark III? Like, what's been the biggest success from your perspective? We'll start with you, Markus.
For me, it's definitely that the bike is so dialed, so composed. It's like it's you can do everything. It's not a specialist, like I said. It's like your best friend. And with this approach, what we already had on the first bike, we got a step further with Mark II, and with Mark III now another step further. And then in combination, of course, with the storage system, it's an everyday bike. Yeah. So if I could only afford one bike, I would definitely go for the Jeffsy. And in this case, our guys nailed it, I would say.
Yeah. I rode the Mark II about a year ago, and this definitely feels a step on from like I don't know how to explain it. I felt safer to push from the get-go on the Mark III compared to the Mark II. Not that the Mark II felt sketchy in any way, but like I just felt like I could go harder from the start on this bike,
Yeah.
which is cool. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the one bike to go.
yeah,
Yeah, and to me, the most rewarding thing, or the most thing I'm proud of, is like working for such a period of time, and like it's the perfect proof. Like if we are ending the ride with high fives and having laughs, and everyone is enjoying the ride,
yeah.
there's always like, oh, awesome. Yeah, let's crack a beer.
Yeah, it was good. A lot of fun. We're going to wrap up with our final 4 questions. Markus, you've answered these in the past, so if people want to hear Markus's answers, you can go back to the episode from, I think, October 2022 with you and Sam.
Yeah, right.
But Frank, unfortunately, you're going to have to do these, man.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Let me know what are the questions.
All right, the first one. If you had £150, which is going to be like 180 euros or something, to improve your performance on a bike, what would you recommend people go spend that money on?
Fucking skill training.
Yeah?
I mean, we can talk about setting up the suspension, but that would be next level. If you know how to ride, how should it feel, you cannot improve just buying different parts.
Yeah, totally.
And trust us, we dial the spec for you. Yeah, skill training, that's
Yeah.
my answer.
Okay. Have you done much in the past, like skill stuff? Or
Not enough, obviously.
okay.
But
Yeah, same. Nowhere near enough.
I did a couple of them, but as always, like you have seen in the shuttle ride in the Landy, it's always like I tried to ask, hey, like Joey, super fast guy,
Yeah.
my R&D track, like, hey, we had it yesterday. He rode behind me and said, you shit. Yeah, you're braking too hard. And Yeah, there's always a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, never.
You're doing yourself down there. Everyone from YT seems to shred pretty hard. Like, it's a fast bunch.
We are riders, action riders.
Yeah, amazing. It's cool. All right, next one. If you could wind back the clock and sit down with yourself age 16, what advice would you give him?
I had a nice discussion with my dad a couple of weeks ago, and he said just, hey, relax, sit it out. Time would solve it. And I thought about that, and yeah, maybe he's right. Like, that's what I would say to myself at an age of 16. Don't be too stressed out.
Yeah.
Know where you want to go, strive for that, push hard, work 100% or even more, but in doubt, relax.
I like that. Most problems go away if you ignore them. Not all of them.
No,
but
my
most
experience
of
is not all of them.
them. You have to pick the right ones
Yeah,
to ignore,
yeah,
but yeah, often you can just like
Yeah.
breathe and step back. and
Yeah,
relax.
if you
It's not the same when you get a letter from the tax office, for example.
Yeah, that's
better don't
yeah.
ignore them.
Yeah,
Better
yeah.
change the name and disappear.
Like it. All right, next one. If you could have a coaching session with anyone, past or present, who would it be, and what would you want to learn from them?
Oh, super interesting question. A coaching session, I would say, I would prefer to sit down with Mr. Caddy Slater.
Okay.
Don't want learning to serve, or maybe that would be awesome as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm struggling there 100% as well. But it's more the question, or it's more life coaching, because that guy is super old, like
Yeah.
a little bit older than us, like
Yeah, and still killing it.
and still killing it. Like, how the fuck is that possible? And the most interesting part is like, you're pushing that limits for 40 plus years. Still pushing it. Now he's, what I read so far, he's waiting for a hip surgery. Going to take him out for a couple of months, and he's still saying, "Yeah, I will be back." You could expect me to be back and rip it, and
Unreal.
like, where's that drive coming?
Yeah.
Like, and even the most impressive part is like, he's not an asshole, or at least seems not to be. There's no
Yeah.
scandals. Still supporting kids, like being on a boat trip with Jackson Dorian, like age of 13 or 14, like having
Yeah.
that picture, like, oh man, that's mind blowing. And how is that possible to be driven without having scandals and being in good shape? And what's that fucking secret?
Yeah, there's a few
Let
of
me
those
know.
guys here across
Yeah,
the sport,
Greg-
like
Greg
Tony
Minard, like,
Hawk, Greg Minard. Yeah.
Damn it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm struggling each Saturday, like getting myself out of bed. Like, I go
yeah.
for a ride, or let me do a stretch first and call me later, yeah?
Yeah, we all got out of the Land Rover yesterday after the ride. And we're like, oh, my knees hurt.
I mean, the
like,
Landy is, there's a different problem.
yeah, true.
You must be super good in Tetris and yoga to get in and out.
To get that many people in a Landy, for sure. Yeah. All right, last one. Something you do every day that you feel benefits you.
Oh, that's easy one. It's coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets me going. Like a ice cup of coffee with milk.
Yeah.
I don't need that foam on the milk. Just pour milk in it. I'm fine with that. Make the mug bigger then.
Yeah.
And a shower, actually.
Okay.
You cannot speak to me without having a shower or a cup of coffee. I'm not
Interesting.
able to exist. My body is working somehow, finding its way to the shower.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I'm there for you.
Are you into like contrast showers, like hot, cold, or just keeping this
No,
thing?
I'm super simple guy.
Yeah.
Like, give me a big mug of coffee with just milk, cow milk, full gluten and everything, and a normal hot shower.
Okay.
That's it. I cannot handle that cold shower. That's
Fair
giving
play.
me, freaking me out. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Well, where are we sending people if they want to find out more about YT, if they want to check out the new Jeffsy Mark III? Where should they be heading?
Yeah, basically to our website, first of all, the web shop. There are all the information, specification of all of our products listed, of course. Then if you have the chance to come by YT Mill, close to London in the Surrey Hills, for example, or in Germany at our headquarter, or in the US, California. If you live close by, come by, have a look, demo a bike, grab a beer or a coffee, and enjoy the good times. And also diving a little bit into our YT experience world, so get connected with our campaign ideas. And it's quite a nice
cool.
experience.
I like how you bring those to life in the mills. Like I've seen it in the Surrey Hills version. I'm excited to see what the new Jeffsy area will look like in the mills as well. I imagine it's going to be quite good fun.
There will be a huge Jeffsy dude.
Yeah.
You already met him.
I've met the big Jeffsy.
Big fist,
yeah.
And for sure, you can check out on social media, and our YouTube channel is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
And not to forget the Rolling Circus next season.
Perfect.
That's a big question. Like, hey, where can I ride a bike? Yeah, we do have a demo tour. Like, check out the dates are announced on the website, and it's super amazing. Yeah.
Perfect. I will stick links to all of that stuff in the show notes. But yeah, thank you to you guys, and
Chris,
thanks to everyone
can I interrupt?
from YT.
I do have some questions for you guys.
Oh no, here we go.
What would you do if you do have 150 pounds available to improve something on your bike, on yourself? What are your answers to it? Super tricky questions.
So I would find someone who is better on a bike than me, and that's not hard to find. But like someone who's not too much better.
Oh, you're actually a good rider.
Thank you. It's very kind, but I could learn a lot. Someone who's a little bit faster, so that you can kind of stick with them, but it's a stretch. Yeah. And I would buy 2 uplift tickets and some food and some drink, and I'd take us riding for the day, and I'd follow them.
Yeah, that would be
because I don't think my riding ever progresses more than when I ride behind someone who I can keep up with, but that I've got to work to keep up with.
It's that guy with eyes on his head. Like he rides again. He can see how fast you're going. It's just adding this 10% extra.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
And some really fast riders are good at assessing where you're at and toning it back. Like I've ridden with Nico, which was awesome, and he was able to like wind back a bit and ride at a pace where it was a challenge for me, but like if he rode at his pace, he'd
don't kill yourself. Just
totally.
going the extra mile, which you wouldn't normally do.
And you see the way they approach lines, and it pulls you into those lines, and it just makes you ride differently and better. And
that line choice is like, I'm messing it up all the time. Like, that's a weird line choice.
Yeah. And if it wasn't about getting better, then it would be someone who rides creatively. Like I've got a friend, Tom, who unfortunately has moved to New Zealand. Well, not unfortunately for him, obviously, but for me. But like he'd always find insane lines. Like he'd be up a bank somewhere, or like Scandi flicking into turns. If you want a good day on a bike, following someone like that is good.
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
Either of those.
Anything you would tell your age of 16 dude, like young Chris dude, come here as an advice?
Yeah, I would. I think so. I've thought, because no one's ever asked me these questions.
Oh,
which
sorry.
sort of surprises me.
Sorry.
But I have thought about
coming
the
out
answers.
of nothing.
No, you're all good. I like it.
Are you prepared?
I am sort of
do
prepared.
it in the next podcast then.
No, I've thought about this one. I think I would redefine success.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
So I think, and I'm not blaming my parents, I would blame society. I think we are in the UK, in the era that I grew up in anyway, you're kind of pushed into believing that success is based on your salary and your status. So I was always like, I want to earn more money and I want to like get promoted. And it took me far too long to realize that neither of those things made me happy. In fact, they probably did the opposite. Like every time I got promoted, you're like, oh, I'm going to get promoted today, and you get it, and you're like, oh, I just got more work.
I don't feel it.
I've got loads more responsibility, less time, and a tiny amount more money.
Yeah.
Or I'm even more trapped in the company. Like I think working out how you define success and what's important to you, at a young age, it would be like transformative, like how you measure how you're doing.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's what I would change.
Thanks for your answers. I don't want to stress you out too much.
No, man, you're all good. Have you got more?
Yeah, 2 more.
Go on then.
Actually, can I look it up what the questions are?
The next one.
Then is the idle.
Yeah, the coaching session one.
Yeah, the coaching session.
We had this discussion on a ride actually this week with Joey. This is tricky because there's so many cool people in this sport, right? And again, I think it comes down to like there's different things. There's like, do you want to get better at riding? Do you want like a piece of life coaching? Like some people have said that like actually Petey, obviously good at riding, but also really good at like the life element stuff. He's helped quite a lot of people on that. But I think like if I was focusing it on like performance and riding, it would be like Fabian Burrell or Nico Vuglio. I don't really know Nico. I know Fabian a bit, but never had the chance to ride with him. But I know a lot of people that have.
Yeah, I did it a couple of times, and exactly with Fab. It's like, I don't know how can have you in his vision riding behind him, but it's exactly that 10%. You go more than you would normally go, and it's like he is showing you without showing you.
Yeah,
and that's awesome.
But he's also super analytical. I think. Like, I think there are some riders that are just fast. Like they maybe couldn't translate that and help you get faster.
Yeah.
Fabian, 100% could make me faster.
He's super deep in every single
everything.
detail.
Yeah, like he'd be moving your elbow a millimeter up and down. You know what I mean?
And your left eyebrow. You didn't lift your left eyebrow in that corner. Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So
that's interesting.
I think Fab, and he's a fun guy as well. So it'd be a cool
day
out.
A French guy, but good guy.
Yeah,
I love him. Yeah,
it's cool. Any more?
The last one. You can look in
something you do every day.
Your daily routine for sure. What is that? What's your secret, Chris?
I am absolutely awful at doing something every day. I've got this I have reminders that pop up in my calendar, like, have you done this today? I'm like, oh no, skip.
Yeah, skip.
I'm really bad at like trying to do the things that I know make me a better human. But there's a few things like I've done journaling. I find really it's so simple. So I've used like a journal where every morning you write down, what was it, like 3 things that you want to achieve in the day. And also already you've like set out some objectives, and they don't have to be like huge things. Just like I need to get that done, and that'll be good. And you write down like a positive, like I would like to operate in this way, sort of thing.
Oh, that's
like
not only a task list. It's like it's feelings and everything.
It's a bit more like detailed than that.
Because the task list is normally
so it's not
doing
just
that's super helpful, but it's like that's
100%. But it's more like I want to approach all these conversations with a positive energy, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, good point.
And then you come back to it at the end of the day, and you write down 3 awesome things that happened, and something that you'd like to change. And I feel like it changes my mindset. So doing that bit in the morning, like it makes me, it sets me up better for the day. It makes me cognitive of the way that I want to approach things. So I think that's really beneficial. And the fact that I know that I've got to come back to that at the end of the day and write down 3 awesome things that happened means you're looking for awesome things. Yeah. So something that would have just, it happened and you didn't realize how cool it was.
Yeah.
Like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like you actually know.
You sharpen your senses even more for the good things.
You're aware of the good stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that was super cool. And it could be as simple as like, this dude sent me an email saying, thanks, I really appreciate that. Like, it doesn't have to be like, I won $1 million on the lottery. Like, it's nothing big. It's just these little things. And you notice these small wins throughout the day. And then there's always consistency in the things I'd like to change. It's like spend less time on social media. There's a lot.
Everyone's task.
Like get off your phone, all this kind of stuff. So I would like to say I journal every day, and I don't. But when I do, it's always a better
that sounds
day.
super good.
Yeah.
I do it here and there, specifically on when I'm off for holiday.
Yeah.
Like doing the wrap up of a day. Like, hey, what was the best of the day?
Yeah.
What's your most awesome thing that happened to you? And every time you're doing it, it's like,
totally.
Because
you can miss these things.
And the next day you forget about it. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's super interesting answers.
Thank you for
You went
asking.
through all the questions a couple of times in your head already. Like, get
Because
prepared.
I did a podcast a couple of years ago, and I was like, well, if I was interviewing me, I would ask me my questions. So I assumed I was getting them. So I thought about them in that context then. And yeah, so those answers to some extent have sort of stuck with me. And some of them have definitely changed over time as well, I think. But the one that doesn't, and the one that I always come back to, is that definition of success. I think.
Oh yeah, that's a deep one.
I'd have been a much happier human
Yeah.
sooner had I worked that out. But I think a lot of people go through that.
What's your take on that? I mean, you were obviously super successful, like what you're doing.
But
you
what does
sacrifice a lot,
success
like,
really mean? For me, success is being happy. Being happy with your life, what you are doing. It's not how much money do you have on
I mean,
on your
for
bank
sure money
account.
helps somehow, but
Could help, but it doesn't make you happy.
yeah. At the very end, no.
Definitely not.
And most people that have done well and have earned a lot of money, it hasn't come from setting out to earn a lot of money. It's come from doing something they love, and because they do it well and they're good at it, then the money comes.
That's your story, right? It's your never.
Yeah, when you do things because of money reason, when you found a company and your first goal is to make a lot of money, I guess it's gonna be probably quite hard to achieve that. But if you do something with passion because you love it, then you will be successful.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, 100% sure.
Yeah, and the products are better, right? You compromise the product because you're like, oh, we want to make more profit on this.
Yeah.
There's no way you'd go and make the aluminium frames you guys make if it was just about the bottom line.
Exactly.
Yeah, good point though.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good, like, chasing down happiness and making a business out of it and being successful. But that's a good advice for young people. Like, don't listen to all that shitheads like, you cannot do this and if that's your dream,
do it,
chase it.
Hell yeah.
And that brings you to success in any form. Maybe it's money, maybe it's happiness, maybe it's a healthy body or whatsoever. And
you've got to be able to afford to live along the way, right? So you've got to find a way, but there's always a way.
There's always a way.
Yeah, don't be scared of anything.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to my 16-year-old younger me.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. Everybody's cooking with water. Just go for it.
Yeah.
Wise words.
When I went all in on the podcast, I was like, well, if it doesn't work, like, I can always just go and work in a coffee shop for a bit, or go and like be a barman, or I'll find a way to earn enough money to live.
Yeah.
Like, and actually, it'd probably be quite fun. Like, you'd learn how to make coffee properly. You'd meet loads of cool people and have a nice chat with people.
That's a part dealing with ego.
Yeah. I guess.
Like,
Ego
if
can
I
get
lose
in the
that,
way.
my ego and will suffer and blah blah blah.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys find. Do you find your egos have got smaller as you've got older? Because I definitely feel like
Agree.
Okay, nice. I care way less about all of that stuff, like how I'm perceived and all that, than I did when I was younger.
At least for myself. Are you asking me for my career? If you considering a career like doing this, and the next level is like junior, senior, whatsoever, I don't have a career.
Okay.
There's a job title on my business card saying product development manager, but I don't give a shit.
It doesn't matter to you.
Not really. I think it doesn't matter more to other people than me.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And you have to have something written on a business card, because my name only that doesn't make sense. People try to struggle to spell it, so that's a stupid one. And no ego.
Yeah.
Or at least less.
Yeah. Same for you, Markus, or?
Agree 100%. Like back in the days when I went to a bike park, for example, and I did not all the jumps, or I missed the big drop, whatever, I went home and I was quite unhappy.
Yeah, same.
Because I had the feeling I have to do everything.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm a loser and whatever. So I put myself so under pressure that I didn't have fun on the fun stuff anymore. And nowadays, I'm in an age where I say, okay, I write only the stuff what I feel comfy with, and I'm super happy afterwards going home, and I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
But back in the days, it was really my ego that said, okay, I have to do it.
Did you find that got harder when you became Mr. YT? Because like people know who you are, and like it's very different just being anonymous, turning up to a bike park and doing that versus being.
Yeah, of course, that added a little bit more pressure as well, especially in the first years when we went to parks and we got recognized by customers and fans and so on.
Yeah.
And then you try to keep up with them, of course. And the young guns are quite fast, I can tell you.
For sure.
Yeah, and you try this one and there to drop, and oh my God, yeah. But basically, I had no real hard crashes. I had some crashes, okay, but nothing really major. So I came through this period quite lucky.
Got away with it. Good stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe that's the beauty in getting older. Like, yeah, chill out.
You meet like my nan always impresses me. Like she gives 0 Fs about anything.
Yeah.
Like she's 98.
Oh,
but
yeah,
like
nice, yeah.
At the older you get, the less you care.
Yeah.
And it's cool. You go from that, like little kids don't care because they've not had that like almost brainwashing, and older people have learned to just give it up and they don't care. It's the bit in the middle that you got to worry about.
Yeah.
So yeah, like dealing with your ego and keeping it in check is. I'm better at it, but it's still.
But it always helps to learn something new.
Yeah.
So if I tried to learn surfing.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Meanwhile, I could consider myself a really shitty surfer at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, that keeps you humble. Like.
Yeah. I listened to a podcast the other week, and a guy was. His kid was learning to write, so he decided he was going to learn to write with his other hand.
Oh, nice.
To like go through the experience with his child, but also to it keeps your brain active, right? As you get older, like learning new skills is really beneficial for your brain. And I was like,
so.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, my little girl's like getting close to that, so I'm like, maybe I'll try that. Like do it with her and learn to write with my other hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, learning new skills, it's humbling, right? You're right at the bottom of the curve again.
That's why I love mountains, because they humble you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
you got to look after yourself. Right, we should wrap up. But thank you guys. It's been a really fun few days. It's been an absolute pleasure to hang out with you all, to meet so many new people from the company as well that have been involved in the project, to ride the Mark III, which has been a lot of fun. It's a super fun bike, cool project. Looking forward to seeing the finished launch video as well, because they're always really good. But yeah, thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Nice one.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak to you and having you
Good
here.
stuff. Cheers, guys.
Good rider.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.